Hey everybody, this is Bryan with the Life, Love, and Existential Dread podcast. I want to clear something up right off the bat. I've been saying Los Angeles, and I really don't think I've been specific enough because I get some direct messages, Los Angeles where? Los Angeles, Zimbabwe or something? Like, no. Los Angeles, California, United States of America.
Oh my God! I always thought you were in Los Angeles, Zimbabwe.
I'm not okay.
Idea.
Couple messages about it. My co-host thinks that as well, so it's entirely possible. But I'm pretty sure I'm in California, United States.
Yeah.
All right. And just wanted to clear that up right off the bat. And so my co-host Nathan Shelton from Chicago, Illinois, also in the United States, also on planet Earth, I think. He is an actor, writer, director, and NASCAR legend. How you doing, Nathan?
Great. And just polished my NASCAR trophies last week.
Well, you just won the Daytona 500, I heard.
Yeah, it's one of those things I don't even remember, but apparently I did win the NASCAR, the whatever it is. I don't know anything about NASCAR. I can't riff with you on that one. I have no idea anything about NASCAR, which is weird because I'm from Missouri and there's a lot of NASCAR people in Missouri, but yeah.
All right.
Well, but in here in Chicago, close to Indiana too, Indianapolis.
All right. Well, I heard this on YouTube or Tubi or BoobTube or one of those. And, Nathan Shelton, first place, Daytona 500, Austin Cedric, half a second behind him, second place, and Bubba Wallace. So, I hear these things, I got to check in with you and make sure they're right. So, NASCAR legend, Nathan Shelton. Sure. Amazing. You're headed to,
do I get
now you're headed
money for that or something?
I don't know. I just heard these things. I just want to verify it with you, But I heard, next you're going to Talladega and the Winston Cup. Yeah, I heard that next. So, yeah.
All right, there you go. Talladega. That I know Talladega because of the movie Talladega Nights. So
right.
I understand
Yes. Yeah. Well, I keep hearing these things about you. A couple episodes ago, it was, billionaire model, Playboy, dad bod Batman. I mean, that's a whole episode right there, dude. I mean, we got to talk about that. That's unbelievable.
Dad bod Batman.
Yeah. Well, all the other stuff too. Billionaire, Playboy model. That's all in there.
Right.
But then I heard you're a flat earther. Like you're planning all these expeditions to the big ice wall, and then you said no. I'm an inner earther. I was like, okay, inner earther.
Right.
And then this week NASCAR legend. So I was like, man, just got to keep clearing these things up with you.
Yeah, I'm a man of many skills and trades, jack of all trades.
Excellent. So okay,
it comes with the territory,
Yeah, I hear you. Well, that's part of the reason why you're doing this. Clear
the
all this
most interesting
up.
man in the world.
Yes,
yeah, in a
right
hobbit
there.
body.
All right. I got two things I want to talk about. First thing is this show is having an effect on society, having an effect on the zeitgeist, the lexicon. We are out there. The title of the show, very good title. You came up with it. And I've encountered part of our title 3 times out there in the entertainment industry. All right. First one is on a very funny show. It's called Lower Decks. It's an animated show. It's based on Star Trek The Next Generation. And then in season 2 of episode 10, one of the characters says Existential Dread. Couldn't believe it, And I thought, well, there's a caveat to that because I used to work for Family Guy and American Dad. I know those scripts get written, months, maybe even a year or so before it airs. So it's like that one's probably a coincidence, probably. All right, but still raises suspicion, right? All right, the second one, Colbert monologue, just a couple 3 weeks ago. He says Existential Dread. Come on. That one's highly suspicious because we started this in January. And here they are already stealing it for a Colbert monologue, seemingly. You got all these high-paid staff writers and stuff, and they already got to steal something from our show. So that one's suspicious,
Had you never heard that term, existential dread, before?
Not very often. I thought it was very. That's why I wanted to, use it as our title. I thought it was very unique. I was like, oh, existential dread.
I've always loved that. Yeah, I've always heard that term. Existential crisis and existential dread are 2 terms that I've heard for a long time. and so yeah, I loved that. I love that term. I mean, it's an actual term. I
Okay.
didn't come up with that term. And actually, after creating the title and launching this show, I did find that there's actually a very popular long running show called the Existential Dread podcast. And it's
Oh
just the
boy.
Existential Dread podcast. So, I mean, we're not stealing from them. They did not invent the term either. Existential Dread is a term that, I mean, if we looked it up, I'm sure it's been around for a long, 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 long time. But yeah, that it has been around forever. So I'd love to believe that we are involved and we have made a dent already just since in the few months we've been doing this. We've made a dent in the zeitgeist. But
I think so.
I think we're part of it. I think we're part of it. I don't know if we're making give it another month, and then we will be the forerunner of using terms, and people will be referencing the show. People will be talking about.
I think so.
Oh, did you hear? Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, and little thing to go along with that. On our last episode, we had our first guest, Daryl Claunch, and he called us out before we started recording. Said, "Hey, a couple of episodes, you guys are getting stuff wrong. So we got to fact check and make sure we get everything right. So I got the Alexa dot here if we need anything. So
Good.
Oh,
yeah, and a lot of what we do is it's our own.
Hold on a second, Alexa. What time is it?
Yeah.
Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 2:11 p.m.
Oh, okay. Could you hear that?
Barely, yeah. 2:11 p.m., which is accurate because I have 4:11 here in Chicago.
Okay, all right. So anyway, we got that resource. We need to fact check and make everything correct on the show. So
thank God for Alexa.
Yeah, you're going to help out a lot. Okay, so all right. The last one, but it's so much closer to the title. This other instance where I saw the title out there. I was online at the grocery store looking at the magazines. People magazine, Courtney Cox is on the cover. The title of her article, Life, Love, ampersand, What I've Learned. I think, come on. That's straight up larceny right there. It's like that's another way of saying existential dread. What I've learned, learning about yourself. I was like, come on, that it had to have been stolen. I think, So we're out there, we're having an effect, and
we're making waves, in the world.
But you know what I think it is? I think it's like that thing when you buy a new car, and then you start seeing that car around on the roads as you're driving. I think it's that kind of phenomenon. It's like, okay.
Yeah, you've opened up your perception, and so now you're more sensitive to it. So you're seeing it everywhere. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I know, yeah.
Oh, but those last couple were just in the last few weeks. So it's just a little curious, little suspicious. Yeah.
Just wait.
All right.
Wait what's coming down the pipeline. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? All right, next thing I want to talk about is something I've done many times is gone to a screening of a movie that's about to be released in theaters. All right. And you have to sign an NDA. So you're not allowed to post about it or really talk about it, but I'll talk about it in general terms. There was a major star in it, and another guy that I follow, big fan of his, and his first movie he'd written, and he's the star of it. He wrote it, and I just was very interested to see it. But
is this
it's a free. Yeah, this was just last week. Yeah, and
okay.
And just want to see what they did. I've follow this guy, and he said, "Oh, the movie's out. We're getting some screenings. I'm anxious to see focus, feedback, and all that stuff." So I was very excited to kind of go see this thing. And I've done it before. You go there, you fill out a little survey, and you get a free movie. So anyway, get there, and I'm waiting in line, and then there's these two girls behind me, or mid-20s or something like that. And they're just yapping away and saying, oh, I'm so happy to do this. I'm so happy to be in Hollywood and go thing. I feel so Hollywood. I just moved here. Oh, you just moved here and live here? And just going off on this thing. Like, could you be any more cliched or anything? And it's just, two girls meeting in line, fine, whatever, not a big deal. And so getting into the theater, and before I get into the rest of the story, the last 6 movies that I've been to, I've sat next to a talkie-talker. Every single one. Every single time. Somehow they find me. They follow me around, I think.
Are they talking to each other or talking to the screen, or what do you mean?
They're talking to the person they're with.
Oh, okay. During the movie?
During the movie, they're right next to me, and then they're talking to the person they're with. Last 6 movies, every single one.
Oh,
I I don't know how it happens. Some kind of vibe I'm putting out there. I don't know. I tend to think it's like an Usher conspiracy that they're following me around and say, hey, put Talkie Talker sit next to this guy. I don't know, but it happens. It's too many times to be a coincidence. It
Right.
has to be. Yeah. So I'm trying to avoid such crowded part of the theater where I might find talkie talkers, and so I get in there and I know that like the middle section up there, that's the best place to sit as far as sound and enjoying the movie and seeing the whole screen and everything. So I don't sit there because you can sit anywhere in these screenings. Oh, I forgot about the cell phones. All right. So before you get in there, you're not allowed to bring a cell phone. And in the email to inviting you to the screening, they said, leave your phone in your car. You're not allowed to have them in the theater. You get, if you do a recording, you get a fine or arrested or something like that. And but of course, most people don't do that. And so they have this little table where you can leave your phone with these people, put it in a little Ziploc bag. They give you a little ticket like a valet, and then you get your phone after you're done. But then once you get past this table, you have to go by this guy who has like a scanner to see if you really don't have a phone. So it's really well organized. They anticipate people, want to take their phones and everything. So nobody has a phone in the theater, which I love too. And so I get in there and then I sit down and I'm more towards the front. And I'm more towards the front because I think less people sit towards the front because it's too hard to see the screen and everything. But I don't care. I just don't want to sit next to anybody who talks. And so I get a seat there, and then these two kind of, I don't know, middle-aged women, late 40s, early 50s, something like that. They come walking by me, and this one kind of brushes by my leg a little bit too much. And she goes, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I'm like, okay, a little weird. And then they go over and sit down. This one gets up again and bumps into me again. Oh, I just keep bumping into you. One day, I was like, what's going on here? It was clearly intentional, kind of like flirting with me or something like that. But, I was like...
But you weren't
all
having
right.
any? You weren't like...
I was not interested, no.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they're very nice women, but no, not interested.
You're there to watch a movie. You're not there for any other business. No funny business.
Well, no funny business. Yeah. And everybody's got masks on. I was like, you take one look at me and I got a mask on. I'm a troll with the mask on. I'm like super troll without the mask. I was like, why are you, you're hitting on me or something like that? And then she goes out, brushes by me again, which I really think was intentional. Coming back, same thing, bumped into me again. Oh, we just keep bumping into each other. Hello, how you doing? I'm like, what do you want? What are you trying to sit in my lap or something? I was like, what's going on here? So I had enough of that. So I got up and I moved 2 rows forward. And I was like, hopefully nothing else happens. I'm like, holy cow. And so I got a row pretty much to myself. There's a guy about 5 seats down, and he's just shoveling his face with snacks and things. I was like, yeah, eat all that stuff now, dude, so I don't have to listen to that during the whole movie. Yeah. Because the last movie I went to, Talkie Talkers, they had 2 huge bags of Burger King and were just shoveling their faces with
They
Burger
let you
King.
take that in there?
It was in St. Louis. When I saw Spider-Man a few months ago. And just shoveling their face with this garbage, and phones and talking and everything, I was like, oh man. So this guy eating all the junk food down. Yeah, finish that up. I don't want to listen to all that during the thing. And so I think I'm in the clear so far, getting no one sitting next to me. And then this skinny little woman comes and sits next to me, or asks if anybody's sitting next to me, and she sits right next to me. And I go, okay. Anybody sitting next to you? I go, no, nobody's sitting next to me. And very quiet, no problem with that one. And then these other 2 people come down and sit on my right side. So far, so good. Now, right after that, I get 3 let's call them carpet people, walk by. They're wearing carpets, okay? I'm not kidding. I mean, they're wearing clothes underneath, but over their clothes, they're wearing a carpet, okay? And they got like a neck hole cut open of the carpet, and it's over their heads, 3 of them, okay?
Why?
I don't know. It was the
Like a
strangest
tunic?
thing.
A carpet tunic?
I don't. They look like carpets. Maybe it was tunic. I don't know. But it looked more like a carpet than anything else.
Wow. Okay.
Weird look. Yeah, just weird looking. Okay. And the one guy, it was 2 girls and a guy, and the guy is one of those guys that just talks too loud. He's like, "Are you guys getting a seat? I'll go get candy. And he's shouting, to the whole theater and everything all the people around him were just annoyed by this guy. I'll go get the candy and Snickers and everything. And, oh man, does this ever end? And so the three carpet people, or the two girls, go down there and get their seats. And then this guy goes out, comes back in, same thing. I got everything. Announcing everything he's doing as he's walking by. Carpets draping over everybody's knees and everything. And it's just an annoying guy. And then, but still, so far so good. They're down. I don't have to listen to them or anything like that. And then one more time, Carpet Man gets up. I'm going to the bathroom. He's got to announce everything. Up again, back and forth again. And then I was just sitting there. I just closed my eyes. I was like, yes, I can hear everything. Yes, I do. But at least I don't have to look at anybody. And so the woman on my right side, I was like, I had my eyes closed. She kind of saw me, and then the Carpet Man was coming back, and she's like, "Shh, I think he's sleeping or something." And the guy's like, "What? And I looked up. I was like, "Just go, dude. Just go." But so I was kind of like, "Thank you very much for looking out for me." You know, annoying Carpet Man and everything. But little did I know, I had my talkie-talker. This woman talked the entire time.
One
entire
of the carpet
movie.
people?
No. The carpet people are about five or 10 seats down on my left.
Oh, okay.
The woman and her boyfriend are on my right, and she was the talkie-talker. They were talking the entire movie. Couldn't believe it. I was like, of course it happens again. I was like, this is the way it goes. And I'm just sitting there stewing and everything. I was like, no, speak up and say something. They're the ones doing something wrong, not me. And
Right.
so I lean over. I was like, it's very polite, very quiet. I was like, can you please stop talking? She's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. Oh yeah, I'll stop. 5 minutes later, she's back at it. So just very annoyed with the whole situation there. And so finally, it was a pretty good movie, comedy movie. And finally it ends, and you have to fill out a survey. That's part of going to the screening, getting a free movie. You have to fill out the survey. And right as the movie ended, these two on my right, the woman and the guy, they stand up and they try to get out. And the usher's like, no, go back, sit down. You got to fill out the survey thing. And the way they do it is there's a smartphone in a Ziploc bag under everybody's chair. And so you take out the phone, turn it on, and it's not a working phone. It's just, you turn it on and it starts the survey. Rate the movie on 1 to 10, rate this actor 1 to 10. Why didn't you rate it 10, and so forth. And so, I'm going to coin this phrase, and we should have our title trademarked, and copywritten, for what I was talking about earlier. But I want to copyright and trademark this phrase as well. It's called mobile device deprivation, okay? So everybody in this theater didn't have a phone for at least an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, okay? So what happens? You give everyone a phone. You know what happened? Silence. 250 people, 300 people, silent, looking at this phone and doing the survey, and mostly it was because no one had their phone. So that, hey, I got a phone. Now I get to play with my electronic device, or an electronic device. So yeah, MDD, mobile device deprivation, wave of the, I really think that's a real thing. There's some existentialism for you, societal existentialism. Yeah. How people, react to phones and not having phones and everything. So anyway, we're not quite done yet with all this. Almost done with it.
And what was the name of the movie?
I
know. I was trying to catch you. I thought you'd just go, oh, da-da-da, and then be like, oh.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Like, no.
You're good, Brian. You're good.
It's like, okay, people are going to talk about it, post about it. It was like, hey, I signed the NDA, respect this process, focus, focus groups and everything. Don't break the NDA. So,
yeah.
Hey, yeah. So, all right. So I'm working on the survey, and some people are just kind of flipping through it and everything, just trying to get it done. Talkie-talker and her guy get up and leave, and I was like, oh, thank God. And I think she heard me, but I was like, oh, fine, just get. Oh,
you actually said thank God?
I'm pretty sure she heard me. I was like, man, you're bothering me the whole damn movie. Thank God you're out of here.
Yeah, but just to vocalize that, you're such a curmudgeon. It's hilarious.
I am, man.
They leave and you're like, thank God.
Yeah, I am. I'm the cranky old man now. I am. I really am.
God.
Yeah. So yeah, they finally leave, and the quiet woman sitting on my left, she's still working on the survey, and perfect person to sit next to at a movie theater. I was like, I want her to hit on me, not this other middle-aged woman earlier. All right, so working on the survey, and they did have a couple questions about the score. I'm a film composer, and so I was like, what did you think about the score? And I didn't know if it was temp music or not, but it was very well done. It's very well placed. It didn't, interrupt the movie in any way. No real memorable themes, but I was kind of going off on the score.
But it wasn't. It was a temporary score. It's not the score for the actual movie, or
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh.
He said there's a guy that kind of introducing it said, hey, there's going to be, it's not going to be color corrected. It may not have been fully edited. There may be temp score, and there were some stock footage with watermarks still in this thing. So yes, it's still being edited and worked on everything, but most of it was there. So it didn't really make a difference. So I don't know if it was temp score or not, but I was complimenting it. I was like, whoever did it did a great job. It's excellent. But I'm doing everything else and really giving a good survey. So I'm buried in this thing. And so now here comes the carpet people. All right. There's two women and a guy, and I'm sitting there with my legs crossed on their thing. And you could still get by without it, and the two women kind of shimmy by, and I know they're there, but I'm not looking at them. I'm doing the survey, and the guy stops. All right, the loud one, the one who can't shut up, and I'm still working on. I know he's there. I'm just kind of ignoring him, and then he kind of leans in a little bit, and he goes, "I gotta make sure I get this right. May God bless me and be with me as I pass by this person." And then I looked up at him, and I was about to stand up and say a couple things to him. And I moved forward like I was going to stand up, and then he shimmied by. What? I just, every single time I get into these things, these weird people coming through here, may God bless me and be with me. What the hell's going on? So
you had offended him because he could tell you were annoyed with him?
I don't know. I don't know what was going through this guy's head. There was plenty of room to get by. The first two carpet people got by with no problem. He could have done the same, but he stood there like he wanted me to move for him.
I just
but
love
then
the carpet people. The carpet people.
I was like, well, that's what they are,
Yeah.
Well, and of course I thought of this later. I was like, hey, dude, hey, carpet man, Lord's to the left. You got to go that way. I wish I would have thought of that at the moment, but
Yeah. Wow.
So needless to say, quite an experience. And, all that happened within, like 2 hours, so quite an experience. But that's what's been happening every single time I go to the movies. I always get people yapping away. I guess
you got to go to the movies in the middle of the afternoon when there's 4 people in there and enjoy something. Like go during a weekday when there's nobody else in there. Then you won't have that issue usually. So
usually, right.
If you constantly have that issue, and it sounds like you do, you need to change up your routine or something, because you can't stop going to a movie theater to see a movie. I mean, that's just blasphemy.
Right. Well, and I want to support the theaters. A very big supporter of going to the theater, but man, it's just, I can't avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be a coincidence. It can't be a coincidence. 7 times in a row now? 7. So,
well, maybe you're the problem. Maybe you just exude this
Exactly.
vibe of, fuck with me. Come on, bring it on, man. I'm going to ruin your day, and so people do. I don't know.
It has to be. And I
Antagonize
saw
me.
Yeah. And I saw a meme that it really doesn't apply, but at first I thought it did. It said, you can't blame a clown for acting like a clown at the circus. The question is, why do you keep going to the circus? I was like, yeah, that's B. But say, hey, you go to a movie, you're not supposed to be talking, acting like a clown at a movie. You're supposed to sit there quietly and watch the movie and get out of there. So I was like, well, that meme doesn't really apply. But again, it questions like, why do I keep going if I keep getting annoyed by these people who thinks it's okay to talk? So anyway, I don't know. Enough pissing and moaning about that.
I used to work at a movie theater, and I was a manager for a little bit. I was an usher and a projectionist, right, mainly. But I worked as a manager, and I'd have to deal with people in your situation, right, who go have a bad time, you know, and you're having to go in and kick people out. I've kicked people out for having sex in the theater. I've kicked people out for doing all sorts of shit in the theater. One guy was super drunk when I had just become a manager. This guy was super drunk, falling all over himself. Had to go in and take him out, like the SWAT team. We just took the guy out. No, I got him. Took him outside. It was snowing. I was waiting for a cab to pick this guy up. He wanted a light for his cigarette. I happened to have a lighter in my pocket. Even though I don't smoke, I always used to carry a lighter on me. And it's a customer service thing. So
Sure.
I lit his cigarette, and I'm looking as the cab's coming in, and I hear him going, "Oh!" And I look back, and he's fallen forward into the lighter, and I'm burning the tip of his nose.
Oh my God, dude.
And I was like, "Oh my God!" And his nose was like black and red, like. He barely felt it. He was just like, oh, and so yeah, put him in the cab and never saw the guy again. But man, people used to mess around in the theater all the time. I don't know why people do that. I don't know why people feel the need to, you know, I get why people would go to a theater for some experiences inebriated or high or, you know, on something. But when that little personal, I'm going to do this to enhance my viewing pleasure, whatever, starts to affect the other people, it is really disrespectful. And I'm one of those people that, like, even in an audience, if I'm not working at the theater, which I haven't worked in a movie theater in a decade or more, like actually, God, 20 years. But I see people put their feet on the seats, and that still gets me. I mean, and that's from growing up doing live theater, you know. It was just, it's not okay to put your feet on the seat in front of you. It's just disrespectful to the theater. It's disrespectful to the people who work at the theater and the other people. And it drives me nuts. And I don't let my kids do it. I've never let them do it. You know, it's, even if there's nobody sitting there, it doesn't matter. You don't put your feet on the freaking seats, you know. It drives me nuts, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So
I don't know why people do that. I don't know. I don't get it.
And
it sounds like you need to change up your routine, man.
I do. Yeah. Well, and you know, you could, you know, it was only one screening at an evening, you know, so it's not like you could go in there.
This time you're like, you can't do it.
Like you're stuck. And I really, you know, I really wanted to see it because I wanted to see what it was all about. And I did, thankfully, you know, and you know, it wasn't like they were distracting me from watching it and learning what it was, but still, it's just super annoying. Yeah, I wanted to roll up the carpet man in his carpet and throw him off a bridge or something after that, you know. So
yeah, it's so strange. I mean, were they trying to be noticed? Were they street performers? Or
I kind of think that's the case. Like, you could tell it was kind of a little bit of an act, you know, for attention or something, you know.
Right.
And I've dealt with that. I've dealt with that before. I taught middle school and high school, and even
were they young
even
like that? Were they?
Even as young as fifth graders, you know, there's certain kids that will just do anything for attention. Okay,
Right.
They'll misbehave, they'll talk, they'll do anything to get your attention and to get you focused on them. Not, you know, very few, but there's people out there like that, and of course there's adults too. So I kind of think that's what it was. You know, this guy just wanted attention, or I don't know what he's doing. But the thing about, you know, may the Lord bless me and be with, I was like, good man, something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you, pal.
Well, and
you
he
know,
did that for your. He wasn't doing that to himself. If he said that out loud like, he was saying that so that you could hear him. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it was for your benefit.
Yeah, because he leaned in. He was kind of like
Right.
leaning into my face, and then I was like, "No, you're invading my privacy here. I'm gonna, you know." And I like I said, I leaned forward, and I was gonna stand up, but then he, you know, walked past. So, and I wouldn't get in a fight with a guy over something this stupid, but I would stand up in front of him. I was taller and bigger than him, so it's like just walk the other way, carpet man. Put your carpet down, walk on your carpet or something. I don't know. Just get out of my face. Jeez. You know, so
How did they fit in the seats with the carpet on?
I didn't, you know, watch them sit down or anything, but yeah. Very, very
So
strange.
weird.
Yeah. Well, that's Hollywood for you. There's a lot of weird things. You know, you walk down Hollywood Boulevard, you'll see things 10 times, 20 times weirder than that. So that's the way it is. So.
Well, wow, that's crazy. I mean, I've had some annoying situations in the theater before, but not as many as you, apparently.
Yeah,
And
all-
I
and
don't
all
think
that.
I've ever had any carpet people.
They're only
Those
out
are
here.
the
They're only here.
carpet
They're
denizens.
only
They're only
here
in
in
LA.
Los Angeles. Yeah.
Right. It's like some weird cult. You're lucky you escaped with your life. They might be, you know, a psychotic cult of carpet worshipping people.
I don't
That
know. Yeah, some kind of Alibaba Aladdin something or other is going on there too. I have no idea.
I don't know. That's weird.
Well, that's all I got. So like,
You were hot about that. You had to talk about that. I
was,
had
well,
to
that's what
talk about.
I was like, no, I was like, and I meant to say this earlier. I was like, I almost left. I almost left the theater because I was getting so annoyed, particularly with the girl talking and the carpet man. I was like, man, this is happening again. How could this possibly be happening again? And I was just so mad. I just wanted to leave because I was just sitting there stewing. And so,
Well, have
but
you
I
ever
was like,
gotten
no.
up and have you ever gotten up and like told an usher or somebody and said, "Hey, there's these people that are just making a lot of noise. Can you come in and have them be quiet?" Because if it's affecting you, chances are it is affecting other people. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I thought
Have you
about
ever
that.
done that?
I've never done that. I've always just, been polite and say, "Hey, can you please stop talking?" Most of the time it does exactly what happened. They stop talking for a little while and then it starts up again because people don't change. And yeah, but I almost left, but I was like, no. And I was like, so much stuff had already happened by the time I was going to leave. I was like, there's bound to be more stuff to happen. So I was like, man, I'm going to stay here, stick it out, and get some stuff for the podcast. So I suffer for
did
this
it for the
podcast.
show.
This was my existential dread that I'm sharing with you all today, and went through all that. It was 2 hours of hell, and now everyone knows. So yeah, the things we do for this show. So
Yeah. Yeah. Recently my roommate and we went to go see a couple of different films. And mine, I can say. So we went to go see Studio 666 this week. And then we went 2 days later to see Batman, the new Batman, The Batman.
Oh, excellent.
And,
excellent.
yeah, both films were great. Both films were a lot of fun to go to, but I have to say the theater that we go to, there are some amazing theaters in the U.S. There are some amazing theaters in Chicago. My favorite being the Music Box. I love that theater. It's an old vintage movie house from the early 1900s. They still have an organ in the front that they play sometimes before movies. It's got the scalloped curtains that go up. I mean, it's just a gorgeous theater. The Music Box has amazing programming. They even produce films. And they always do these like retrospectives where they bring directors in and have all these guests, and oh my God, it's brilliant. If you're in Chicago, it is worth it to see anything, even if you don't even know what the movie is. Go see something at the Music Box. They have a bar that you can take drinks in, and just great concessions, and it's the environment, everything. It takes you back to being what a movie house should be, the magic of going to see a movie in a live theater.
Oh,
love it.
yeah.
And then conversely, there's this shithole up the street that we go to movies at. And it's like, and the only reason that we go to this place, and I'm not going to say, I'll say it's a Regal theater. I will say that. But we go to this place because it's within walking distance from our apartment. And I mean, it's freezing and snowing and shit here. So it's not like we do drive, but it's so close and it's so cheap that it's just worth it to go there as opposed to going other places to see movies. If I had a choice and what I wanted to see is playing at the Music Box, I would go to the Music Box anytime, or the Logan, or one of these great movie houses here, because we've got some really, really good movie houses here. But we go to this one, and I gotta say, every time I've gone, they are understaffed, and the staff that they do have might as well not even be there. They're barely coherent. They only talk to each other. There's no even semblance of customer service unless you're one of the 12-year-old managers who's just woken up from nappy time and had a juice and now they're ready to work, and they've got, they're walking around and you're like, good God, how old is this kid that's managing all these people? And because you only see like one manager at a time, and all the people are back in concessions. The theaters are disgusting, where you're walking, it's like,
Yep.
Your feet. The bathrooms, this last time when we saw Batman, the bathroom had 2 sodas just dumped on the floor that were there before the movie and during the movie, because I got up to go to the bathroom, and after the movie. That is a 3-hour movie, and it was in there. It looked like it had been in there for a long time before that, right?
Yeah.
And it never got cleaned up. And there's the air blowers for your hand that doesn't work. They're out of soap. It's like, when I was working at a movie theater, we would get in super trouble if anything looked like that. And if it did look like that, we had to take care of it like that, right? It was fixed in 15 minutes tops, you know. And we had some horrible things happen, right? You know, people do disgusting things in movie theater bathrooms. Just,
of course, yeah.
I mean, like they paint the walls. It's gross. But we get it cleaned up, right? And customer service was always key. This is working at a Warenberg, which there is no Warenberg anymore.
Right.
Little note: Warenberg was actually the oldest single movie chain, like family-owned movie chain in the entire, I think in the entire world, but definitely in the country. For a long time, it was owned by the Kruger family out of St. Louis. But they were the oldest for a long time, and then Warenberg went belly up a while back. But maybe they're still in St. Louis. I don't know. But Warenberg in Springfield, Missouri, is gone. Like, the Campbell 16 got bought out and is now an Alamo Draft House, which is having trouble too. But I love Alamos. But this place and Regal, I've been to a few Regals, and it just doesn't seem like they're hiring people that care about customer service a lot. And I know that kids, it's a lot of people's first jobs. I get that. But this time we went, and we go up to the cashier. We're ordering. They have chicken fingers and stuff, and we're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get some chicken fingers. Well, this kid that's working doesn't know how to use the computer, so this other kid that seems like he also doesn't know how to use the computer is helping the kid, and it's like two monkeys sitting there trying to hit the thing, making it work. And I'm like, he's like, do you want 3 or do you want 5? And I go, what's the price difference? And then the other guy looks at me like, how dare you ask a question that we don't know the answer to. So they're looking at a screen, trying to figure it out. And then he tells me what the 3 is. And I'm like, and it's like $40 or whatever for 3 chicken fingers. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll pay $40 for 3 chicken fingers. I don't know what the 5 is, and I don't care. $40 for 3 chicken fingers, I'll do it. It's obviously not $40, but might as well be. It was like, it's expensive. So I order it. They put the order in. There's just no customer service. It's just like card. There's no like, oh, hey, how you doing today? Oh, good. What are you seeing? Nothing. Right. And I know they're busy. I get it. You're busy. But so they get that, and I wait. I go down. I take my ticket. We got our drinks, and I go and I wait at the end of the bar because they're having to cook my chicken fingers. So I wait down there. I'm there for about 15 minutes. Nothing's happening. Nobody said anything to me. People are coming out that ordered after me. They're getting pizzas. They're getting all sorts of stuff. And I'm sitting down there with Jimmy, my roommate, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? So this manager kid, he comes up to me, and he's got his little lollipop, because he's a kindergartner. And he comes up and he goes, he's like, oh, are you waiting on something? I'm like, yeah, I'm waiting on some chicken fingers. And he goes, chicken fingers? And I go, yeah, chicken fingers? And he goes, okay, hold on just a second. And he gets real nervous and he goes back into the kitchen. And then this other girl pops her head out and looks at me and goes back into the kitchen. And Jimmy and I are sitting there going, what's going on? This manager comes up to me and he goes, we're out of chicken fingers. We've been out for hours. Who sold you the chicken fingers? And I'm like, the guy with the two-toned hair and his friend. That's like down at the other end. And they're like, they shouldn't have sold it to you. And I go, I don't know what to tell you. I paid for it. And he's like, do you want something else? And I'm like, yeah, I need something else. I mean, like, I was like, so can I get, and okay, so get this, 3 chicken fingers and a basket of fries is like $10 or $11. Okay. And then if you get, and if you get a sauce, it's 50 cents. The sauce doesn't come with it. So it's like, okay. And they're pretty good chicken fingers, but not that I know this time because there was no freaking chicken fingers. But I'm like, hey, okay, so can I get, can I get the fried cheese? Which fried cheese alone without any fries is the same price as the chicken fingers. So it's like $11 for like, I don't know, 6 of these little fried cheese. Not worth it. But anyway, so I go, can I get it? And can I get fries with that? Since I really did want the fries and I can't get the chicken fingers. Like, yeah, we can do that for you. We can do that. So they make it right. They give me the fries. They give me the, nice, great, and the manager saved the day with customer service, he gets a gold star for the day and an extra recess, And so we get our food and we go into the theater and, all is well. The movie's great. We watch it in IMAX. It sounds great. It looks great. It's a lot of fun. Didn't have the same audience experience you did. But every time I go to this theater, every single time, there's something going on. And it's like one time I brought the kids and we saw something there. And there was a foreign couple. They sounded like they were from Scandinavia or someplace, the way that they were talking. I'm pretty good at picking out dialects, and it was like a Germanic dialect, but it sounded like they were from like Denmark or something. I've been to Denmark, and that's kind of what it sounded like to me. Anyway, they were up at the very back, and they were fucking around. Like, they were having sex, they were doing stuff, and you could hear them moaning, and it was just them and me and my like kids, my older,
Oh boy,
late grade school, or like low middle school, early late grade school kids. And I'm like, so I get up, I'm like, hold on guys, hold on. So I get up and I go and I talk to an usher, and I'm like, hey, there's some people at the back of the theater and they are doing very inappropriate things in the theater. Can you please just go in and get them to calm down? I don't want to make a big scene or anything, but I got kids in there. Come on, and it wasn't a rated R movie or anything. It wasn't a kids movie because we go see, anything. So I go back, I wait, nothing happens. Nobody does anything. 30 minutes go by. These guys start getting really hot and heavy again, and it's so loud. And I'm like, God. So I go out and I tell somebody else, and they're like, well, who did you tell? And I'm like, I don't know, some kid. And he's like, and it's like there's 2 people working in the entire building this day. Right. Like, they have multiple theaters, and it's like there's 2 people back in concessions and then 2 people doing everything else. I don't get it. And I know with the way that the theaters are today in this world, this was a couple of years ago, but I get that you have to, the theater, it's hard to keep a theater running. So you do run with skeleton crews and everybody kind of does everything, but you got to train people on customer service. Like, you got to, and where's the pride? I used to love working at a movie theater. And if somebody had me go in and wanted me to go in and talk to somebody, I lived for that shit. I lived for it. One time there was this kid, when I was an usher, there was a kid and his girlfriend in daddy daycare. Okay, this tells you how I just dated myself. But daddy daycare, packed house. It's a small screen, but a packed house. They're at the front row, and the guy's got his hand down his girlfriend's pants and is just going to town in the front row. And I went in there because I noticed I was doing a typical theater check, and I noticed it, and some people were like looking uncomfortable. So I went in and I whispered. I got right next to the guy. He pulls his hand out of his girlfriend's pants, and they both just like look up at me. And I said, "Hey, you need to chill out or get out, okay?" Trying to be a badass.
No,
usher,
man.
Right. And so, yeah, right. It's like you're in daddy daycare. Come on. There's kids in there. So
kick them out. I would.
Well,
kick
at first
them
I didn't
out,
kick
man.
them out. They tell us that we're not supposed to kick people out unless you absolutely have to, right? Because then it becomes an issue where they have to give money back, and the theater never wants to give money back. But then you don't have to give money back, but then it becomes like you get a yelling match or whatever. So you give them a
Where's
warning.
the line?
Right.
Where's
Well,
the
you
line,
give them a
then?
warning. You give them a warning. They were making out hot and heavy. Some people might not have known, but anyway, they started going at it again. We were standing in the back, and I got other ushers to stand there with me. And so he would look back and see us and be like, oh. So the whole last part of the movie, they're just like, because I always had somebody in there in a shift watching. So,
Okay.
Yeah, because at this point I was kind of like leader of the ushers. And so they're sitting in there, and they're mad. And I knew the movie was getting out. So to get back at these kids, and because I was an evil bastard, I get all my friends in concessions, a few of the managers who are buddies of mine, and all the ushers who are all friends of mine. And we formed this gauntlet of people to walk through when you come out of the theater. And
Nice.
we had the mints that we used to give out. And I had the mints, and when they were coming, all these people are coming out. We're like, "Thank you, thanks, so glad you enjoyed the movie. Thanks, come back and see us again." And these people came out, and all of us applauded for them, and we were like, I bet you enjoyed the movie. And they were red in the face, so embarrassed, and ran out of the theater. And I'm like, hell yeah, that's vengeance, baby. That's vengeance.
That's perfect, man. That's perfect, because like, hey,
we are vengeance. Yeah, I love that job. It was gross having to clean up theaters and stuff, but it also, I got to see tons of free movies. I love the movie industry, so it was great. As a projectionist, it was fun. That was stressful, but it was fun because one projectionist does run all 16 theaters there. But it was so cool to be able to work there through college. And the worst part were some of the managers that I worked with. But, the people that, there were a bunch of kids, but then there were a bunch of us college kids that just love movies that we worked there too. And that was some of the best and the worst times of my life, at the same time, just wrapped into one, because you're doing gross work, people spitting freaking tobacco on the floor. One time I slipped in the tobacco spit of a spit cup that they just knocked over, and it got all over me. And I was like, I'm fucking going home. And they're like, no, you just started your shift. And I'm like, I don't care. Find somebody else, or you guys cover me. I'm going home. I'm not working today. This is disgusting. I mean, I was about to throw up. I had spit all over me, and tobacco spit. And people get those seeds, those little like, seeds, and they're spitting the shells out all over the place. There's like piles of it between the seats. And then there's people who will take all of their trash. People leave it in the theater, whatever. I have my own theories about, like, it's like, why can't you just walk your trash out? Like, because somebody's going to take care of it. Yeah, we're there to help with accidents, not necessarily just clean up after you. Like, we don't wipe your ass for you, but people are so freaking lazy. I've seen people take their shit and throw it on the ground 5 feet away from a trash can. 5 feet away from a trash can, and they're like, and an empty trash can that's completely open and ready to receive whatever gifts they could bestow upon it, and they're just like, somebody's going to get this, and they just set it or throw it on the ground. I've seen them do it, and I've heard people instruct their kids to do it too. Oh, just set it there. They've got a cleaning crew, and the kids are like, oh, I can just throw it away. No. They've got somebody that does that, and it's like, I'm Jeeves now. Like, they don't pay me enough to pick up after your ass. Come on. Like, that's ridiculous.
No, I hate that about that. Yeah, laziness and everything. I was like, it's your trash. Pick it up. Throw it away. Trash cans everywhere. What's the problem?
Right. But working in a movie house, it was so cool. For a while, I was in charge of doing displays, in the lobby.
Okay.
And they used to let us get really creative. So, like, we built a huge thing for Pirates of the Caribbean where we had, like, a big, like, front part of a ship that we used. We went and took a bunch of stuff from Parkview High School because my friend was the teacher there. Oh, I'm telling you this. Crudwig let us borrow a bunch of shit from the theater. So we built this ship that was coming out of the wall and had, like, people dressed up like ghost pirates, and we did a whole thing in the lobby. And Freddy versus Jason, I did this whole, like, light up furnace out of cardboard and detail painted it to look like metal, and then we had the camp Crystal Lake for Jason, and we just had so much fun doing that stuff. Oh yeah, it was awesome. It was like the heyday because we all cared, we all wanted to do something, and they just let us. They had so much money they could put towards advertising, and it brought it made the audiences love coming there because it was interactive. So it was a blast back in the day. I have very fond memories of working at a movie theater. And maybe when I retire one day, I'll own a movie theater like the Music Box or something, because I do love movies, and I love sharing that experience with people. There's nothing like going to a movie, sitting in the dark. If it's a good audience, right, a good, respectful audience, the movie's good, sitting in the dark with the speakers, the surround sound, the screen, a good big thing of popcorn, hot buttery popcorn and Coca-Cola, not fucking Pepsi, Coca-Cola, sitting in there and just enjoying a really good movie. It can be magical. It really can be. Some of my greatest memories growing up have all been in a movie house, going to see movies and sharing that experience with friends and family. I love it. But it does suck when you have experiences like you had with those. It really, really is awful.
It's just irritating, frustrating. It's not going to stop me from going to the movies. Same reasons. I love the big screen. I love the big sound system. I want to support the movie theaters. I know everything's getting better. We're better and better with home theaters and everything. Lots of stuff goes directly to streaming. So why do you even have to go to a theater anymore? You can get it right in your house. You don't have to, do that anymore. But it truly is an experience. Same thing. I remember seeing, what was I watching? Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. I remember seeing that.
I saw that in the theater too. I did too. I was like 4 years old.
Yeah. I was a young kid too, and the whole family go onto this, and I'm just staring at this thing, this spaceships and Star Trek and everything. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And my dad was really into Star Trek. My brother was a bit, but it was mostly me and my dad and everything. But that is a very vivid memory of our whole family went. My sister and my mom went as well, and it's a very enjoyable movie, even if you don't like Star Trek. It's a great story, of course. That love going there, seeing the big screen and hearing, great music and of course, great Star Trek movie. So I hope they never die out. I know
they're not going to die out. They're not going to die out, man. They're not, because there's something to be said for, there's some movies that just, you got to see on the big screen. The big
Yeah.
blockbuster action things, obviously, the special effectsy things, the Marvel stuff, it's all better on the big screen. But even small movies, there's some like horror movies, they're always better in a theater. They're always better in a theater because you can immerse yourself better. And a lot of stories, especially when you talk about speculative fiction like horror, sci-fi, fantasy, right? Those require a certain level of suspension of disbelief to get into, right? Otherwise, you're not going to get into them. Like a drama or comedy, you can get into the story easier. But for that speculative fiction, those genres, you really have to let yourself go. So having it dark, being forced to not look at your phone, not talk, not get up and go to the bathroom if you can help it, and just be there with the story that's coming at you, that is everything. And I always talk about the Blair Witch Project when I talk about this, because I loved that movie. A lot of people don't like that movie. And you know what? It's probably because they didn't see it in the right environment. But it was the very first of these found footage things. So, not the very first actually, but it's credited as being the first. It's really not. But it's the first big one, right? And I was waiting for that movie to come out for a year. I saw it the third time I saw it in the theater. It scared the shit out of me so bad that I could barely stand up. I had to sit back down because I was so terrified. But then I've watched it at home for parties and stuff where I turn out the lights. We got surround sound. It's not the same at home. It needs that experience. And I think that Paranormal Activity is the same way. It's a very scary movie, but I think all horror, it's better in the theater. And I'm a horror junkie, so another reason I'm never going to stop going to the theater, and I will support a theater. I love going to see horror movies and supporting small budget things too. Midnight showings of local Chicago filmmaker stuff. I love to support stuff like that. I think everybody should get out to the theater and support, go see the movies you love in the theater so we don't let that art form die and the experience die.
Well, and two experiences along those same lines. I saw Blair Witch Project with my sister and her husband when it came out, and same experience. The audience was so into it. People were entranced by this thing, and a noticeably audible gasp by everyone at the end. And I was like, man, this thing had and you're just so overwhelmed with all this stuff because, the shaky camera and all that stuff, it just makes it, of course, seem more real. That's the whole point of it. But yeah, that was definitely an experience that was enhanced with a good crowd. And another one was when I was in high school, and it was Terminator 2. And, huge movie when it came out. I went to see it with a bunch of friends in high school, and everybody was cheering when, Schwarzenegger flips around the gun, like he flips it around and recocks it when he's shooting everything right at the beginning. Everybody's cheering for that, and everybody's clapping at the end. I was like, man, that is the movie experience right there. It's like I'm cheering too. It's like you're cheering at a movie. It's not like some kind of live action show.
It's a shared experience.
Yeah.
When I saw Independence Day, it was the same way. I saw Independence Day on opening day, which was the 4th of July, I believe, or the day before the 4th, in theaters. And I was in high school. I think it came out in 96, right? So it was like my freshman year of high school. I believe it came out in 96. Can't remember. But it was
Hold on. Alexa, when did Independence Day come out?
The film Independence Day was released on July 3rd, 1996.
96.
I was right, too. It was July 3rd, the day before Independence Day. So
96.
How
Okay,
badass is
check.
that? Yep, fact check. There we go. So that movie, when Will Smith punched the alien, Welcome to Earth, that whole thing, everybody cheered. And at the end of the movie, everybody applauded. And it was this really visceral, connection, the kind of connection you get when you go see live theater,
Yeah.
And you don't always get that with a movie because it's a dead medium, right in front of you, right? It's not live. But sometimes in that movie house, you can have that shared audience experience. I had the same thing in Blair Witch Project. I had the same kind of shared experience with I took a cast after the play to go see opening night, the late opening night show of Paranormal Activity, packed house, men and women screaming at the top of their lungs and just terrified. And in every inch of that movie, everybody was leaning forward, and it was such a palpable experience that you cannot get that at home. You just can't. It's impossible.
Yeah, the group collectively being frightened at that thing, it just heightens that whole experience for everyone. And I remembered something else about that Blair Witch time I saw it with my sister and my brother-in-law. The lights came up immediately after it ended, and I don't think the credits rolled. Like it was right at the ending thing, and then the screen goes blank, and then the lights went up real quick, and that surprised a lot of people more. I remember that happened, and I think that was part of the shock of the end of things. A little thing the theaters was, a little enhancement of the experience with the lights coming on at the end there. So, wow. And I think that made some people gasp too. It's like whoa, lights suddenly on,
Yeah.
So. But still, the whole experience was very memorable because you're there with a group of like-minded people.
Right. Especially if you go like on an opening night on a movie that a lot of people are. Oh, Batman Begins was that way. I went to Batman Begins opening day and Batman Dark Knight opening day, and both of those, everybody was there because they loved Batman. They couldn't wait to see a new Batman, and we were all. I mean, the radio. I think there was there were a couple radio shows out there that were giving away swag and all sorts of shit. I got a Batman hat. It was awesome. And you're watching this thing and you're just loving every second of all of it. And you know that everybody else in the theater is there too. I saw Lord of the Rings, all three in one day for that special event showing that they did, that Weta produced. It was all over the country, select theaters, and they were showing, it was going into the launch of Return of the King, the third movie. And they had the first two extended cuts that had already come out. So they were like 3.5 hours long, right? The extended cuts, but they were the full movies, and you got to watch, it was all in one day. So it started, I slept on the fucking sidewalk. I didn't sleep. I was out there on the sidewalk all night. We were all out there with jackets and like blankets and stuff, and like a whole group of us went, and you paid like $35 back then, which is like a normal movie price now, but you paid like $35 and you got a Subway sandwich for a lunch. You get a Subway sandwich, a bag of chips, and a drink, and then you get refillable popcorn and soda throughout the whole movie, whatever you want, like as much as you want at the theater, and you get a little commemorative plate that I still have from Weta that was produced just for this across the world for these showings, and it was from like a single print. They took film cells and they put them in from each movie in this little encased thing that they sculpted, that Weta sculpted, and it was mass produced, and I have it on my bookshelf downstairs, and it was one of those experiences that I've never done anything that geeky in my life. I've never stayed out all night for something, but it was worth it. And there was some guy there with a bullhorn that between the movies was going, and we would all go, to war! And I mean, it was just a huge group of nerds. Everybody's geek boner was so big. Yeah, I don't know how we could see the screen because of all the flags tied to the geek boners, We're like, I can't see the movie. Get your geek boner out of the way. I mean, it was amazing. It really was a special thing, a once in a lifetime thing. They've never done that again where they've shown those. And it went right in it was the midnight showing, the very first showing across the country, all over where they did this, of Return of the King. So you were the first people to see Return of the King, and you've already sat through the whole story in its extended, amazing format. So if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, like I am a massive fan, it was very magical, and I will always have that.
But you got 100, 200 people that are just dying to see it, willing to sleep on the sidewalk, willing to stay up till midnight and see this thing. So there's no problem whatsoever with the crowd.
Right.
The crowd.
And that one was, I believe, it sold out really quickly too. But that one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was a 350 seat house, because it was the biggest. I don't remember. It was bigger than that maybe, but it was the biggest house that they have at the old Springfield 8. In Springfield, and that was the largest house in Springfield, the largest film house. That they had the biggest screen. So, and they didn't even do it in St. Louis. They did one in Kansas City and they did one in Springfield. They didn't do it in St. Louis, and so people were coming in from St. Louis to Springfield to see it. And oh man. Yeah, and everybody was there because they loved it, because nobody's going to sit through that shit if you don't like it, Right. Nobody's going to go, hopefully nobody's going to sit there for their boyfriend or their girlfriend, and just be like, I love you, I hate these movies, but I love you so much, I'm just going to stay here. I mean, no, it was diehard fans, and
And now let's have sex in the on the seats here while this whole movie's going on. Yeah. So
Yeah, nobody did that shit. Nobody got kicked
All
out.
right.
Nobody was loud. Nobody was talking. Everybody was very respectful. It was amazing. The worst thing that happened during that entire, like, however long it took to get through all those movies, was during everything was perfect, and then halfway through about halfway through Return of the King, right when they're at Shelob's lair, and Gollum shows up there, the film broke. The brand new print, and it was a brand new print, but somebody didn't like build it right, or I think the projector, because it had been running all like nonstop,
Yeah.
I think it got too hot or something, and it froze, burnt a hole in it, and we had to wait, and it took a while for them to get everything fixed. But as soon as they did, everybody was like, yeah,
Of course. Yeah.
And, yeah,
we're not.
it was awesome.
We're into it this far. We're waiting to see the end of this thing. It's like
Right.
nobody's leaving. I don't care what happened to the thing. We're flying in a new projector. We're getting another print. We're staying here for 5 days until we see the end of this movie. I don't care. Yeah, that's the kind of fans at this thing. I bet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was amazing, and there's nothing like, I still think that there's nothing like going to see a movie in the theater. There's just not. It will always be around.
And you're talking about having an organ playing at the Music Box Theater there in Chicago. And there's the El Capitan here. They have a organist come out, and this gorgeous Wurlitzer pipe organ comes up out of the floor. And, and he's playing for, 20, 30 minutes before the movie comes on. Every single time, everybody applauds him. He waves to the group and everything. And it's same experience, that old time experience. It's gorgeous inside. They try to keep everything really preserved in there. But you can see all the newest movies in there. They got all the newest technologies. So,
Oh, right. Yeah, it's the same.
And I think a lot of people said that, streaming services, even when VCRs, came on board, was like, people are going to stop going to the movies because you can watch it. I was like, man, that's never going to go away, even with all the stuff these days. That experience is irreplaceable, if you got a good group.
Well, and I think parents need to teach their kids to, my parents taught, like, we would go to the movies as a special thing, and we were doing pretty well, I think, for ourselves in the 90s, and so my parents were making more money, and we were able to go like almost every weekend to see a movie, and it was such a big deal for us, when we were in middle school and high school. Yeah, because we couldn't do that when we were younger. We were very poor. But later on, it was like, it's still such a special thing to be able to go to a movie. And my dad always had this reverence for film and music, and my brother became the music person and I became the film person. And for the most part, we all kind of share, but that's mainly it. And mom and dad both would really just like want to share that, and then we would talk about the movie, and we would talk about the experience and everything. So it's always had a special place in my heart. So I've passed that down to my kids, and I really hope that they pass that down if they have kids too. And I think it's important that we preserve the entertainment traditions that we have, and not get lazy just because it's easier. It's so easy to watch a movie at home, and you can still do that. But a special thing. It's a really special thing to be able to go out and experience something together in a theater, and then talk about it with people. Go out after the movie and go get dinner and talk about the movie you just saw, what you liked, what you didn't like, who your favorite characters were, what the themes of the movie were, things like that. And when I go see a movie, I'm picking it apart like shit. I'm just
Me
like,
too.
right? Yeah, exactly. Because we're in the business, but that's how I enjoy a movie. And some people don't like that. They're just like, oh, it's just a movie. And, it's like, but I love talking about the acting, the cinematography, the directing, the script, everything. It's like, it all matters. And sometimes movies are firing on all cylinders and sometimes they're not. And it's like, well, yeah, everything was so good, but I wish that they would, the writing was a little better. Some of the lines just were so cheesy and over the top or whatever. But I don't know. It's an art form that was created for that venue. Movies were created to be watched in that venue. Television is created to be on the small screen. That's how they're created. Nowadays, they are making movies to go to the small screen too, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the movies that are made to be on the big screen, David Lynch goes off on people that watch things on their phones. I never watch a movie on my phone, but it's there are movies that are made to be watched on the big screen, and to do it justice and to really allow yourself the full benefit of really enjoying that art form, you need to go see it the way it was intended. And that's my opinion, but that's the opinion of, I think, everybody that makes these movies too. You never hear a director going, I don't care where they watch it. It's like, yeah, even unless they are making it for Netflix or something like that, which I'm all for too. That's cool. That's great that you have that medium. And I love television. Television today is so much more elevated than it was 20 years ago. The stories that are being able to be told over long periods of time, it's amazing, but that has its place, and movies have their place, and they will always have their place.
Well, and one experience I had, and this was several years ago now, and you'll probably know this. I don't know how many people listening would know this, but there used to be a thing before IMAX that was called Cinerama. Okay, and it's three. And just to let people know, I didn't know this before I worked on this film. This guy restored the 3 cameras that you need to shoot a Cinerama movie. Everything is shot with 3 cameras, and they're really big, noisy cameras, like How the West Was Won was shot in Cinerama. So when you see it at the Cinerama Dome in Hollywood, the thing with the golf ball,
yeah,
and there, yeah, and it's a gigantic screen, and it's curved, and they are the Cinerama Dome, and then there's another one in Australia. There are only 2 theaters in the world that can handle a Cinerama movie because they have the screen space, and they have the ability to have the 3 projectors. And this guy restored some Cinerama cameras and shot a movie that was kind of like a travel log of Los Angeles, and I got to score it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it was such an experience, but maybe appreciate the filmmaking process alone, because he said this guy was, very diehard, film. Everything has to be shot on film. I want to do this, restore this thing, and let people know this is how some movies were shot and seen in the theater. And it's that panoramic view of Cinerama. I was like, man, it's really impressive. It really is. And I, of course, everything's way better than that right now. But going through that, scoring that thing, and experiencing that, and talking to this guy, going over to his house, and he's actually slicing film and editing it that way. I was like, who's doing that these days? People shooting on film.
Yeah, we did it back when I was still working, but that was the early mid 2000s, and they don't do it anymore. Everything's digital now, almost everything, except the music box. The music box, and some of these older theaters, they do have old, they'll get old 35 millimeter prints in, and there are movies still being put out in 70 millimeter, and they actually have a 70 millimeter projector at Music Box, and they will do kind of what you're talking about, except it's 70 millimeter, and they have a screen that they put up in front of their actual screen, because it can handle the 70 millimeter, and they show special event showings in 70 millimeter when directors have that. So I saw Hateful Eight for a late night show in 70 millimeter, the way that it was intended to be shown. He shot it specifically with that what do they call it, cinescope, or it's a panorama. I don't know what they call it. It's not the same thing, but they that 70 millimeter. Yeah, it was gorgeous. And they just did, and I missed it, but they did a black and white 70 millimeter version of Nightmare Alley, Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I wanted to go because the movie is a noir. It's based on an old noir. I mean, it's based on a book, but there's a movie from the 40s or 50s that is, it's from the same material, and he readapted it, and it's great. And I saw it in color, and it was great in color. It's very much a throwback movie. It's slow, but it's beautifully shot and great characters. I loved it. But I would have loved to have seen it in 70 millimeter in black and white. It's just neat. And I love that theaters still do stuff like that. They preserve the art form, and they reintroduce it to younger generations who are into it and support it with their funds, and places like the that you're talking about that has that the 3 projectors and the aspect ratio and the music box and things. I love that there's still theaters out there doing that. I think it's so amazing.
And we were going to screen, or it was not a screening, it was a showing. There was movie times showing, and they were showing this new movie that this guy shot with the restored Cinerama cameras. And then, or I'm sorry, they're going to show, no, I'm sorry, that was first. The movie he shot showed first, and then they showed How the West Was Won. So you get kind of two movies for the price of one. And I never heard of Cinerama. I'm telling other people about it, like, what's Cinerama? I was like, well, before there was IMAX, there was this, and it's, this big screen type of thing. And, not many people knew about it. And so, it was like a Saturday at 11 a.m. I was like, how many people are going to show up for this thing? Line around the block, packed,
That's awesome.
packed theater. I was so great. I was like, man, look at these people showing up for this thing.
Yeah.
It was probably mostly for How the West Was Won and the gimmick of Cinerama, but they also had to watch our movie,
Right.
first, and then say, but yeah, it's like, we got you. So you're going to watch ours first, and then you get to see the big famous movie. But still, I was amazed. Just packed the theater, the Cinerama
awesome.
Dome. I was so grateful to see that. It's like, man, people still appreciate it. People still want to experience those things, even if it's not well known. I mean, so
When we were
because we actually make fun of it in the movie, like these characters who are driving around L.A. and they're showing all these parts of L.A. and everything. Griffith Observatory and stuff like that. And they go, what's Cinerama? I don't know what Cinerama is, and everything. Like, they're making fun of it in the movie too. So
Yeah.
But it was quite an experience, and made me appreciate the filmmaking process even more. The editing, directing side of it, making the cameras work. Because these things were so old, and he's like searching around for parts. He's making parts to get these cameras to work again, so he could
That's
shoot this
awesome.
thing.
That's awesome.
He was dedicated to make this thing work. So
That's
and he
so
did.
cool.
He made it work. It was great.
Yeah. Now they have the enhancements on like IMAX, right? So there's IMAX. They have the dome IMAX that's like immersive that they make things on. They have a dome here that does that. But they don't, I don't think they show regular movies on that, but they have made movies for that's very immersive, But they have this thing out now that's like 4D movies. Have you heard about that?
Yes. Yeah.
Where it started in the amusement parks. Like 25 years ago, whatever, however long I was in high school, I went to like Universal Studios, and you would go and they have the mist that sprays you in the face and like hot air on your neck, and like the seats rumble and stuff.
Seats move. Yep.
Right. And it's like you pay a lot for it, but some movies, I think if they're made to have that happen, it could be pretty cool. I've still not tried it yet, outside of an amusement park, but they have that here in Chicago at a couple of different theaters, and they offer it for some movies. And I just thought, how cool is that gimmicks that have come directly from like William Castle days in the 50s, these schlock horror movies. I love William Castle, and I love all the gimmicks that he used to do with the Tingler and shit like that. They make fun of it in the movie, the Joe Dante movie Matinee. Have you seen Matinee with John Goodman?
Oh, don't know.
He plays
that
a
one,
character named Lawrence Woolsey, who is a direct screen incarnation of William Castle, and his whole thing is get them in the seats and then scare the hell out of them with all these gimmicks, like tingling the seats like a little zapper in your butt, and have people in costume and do all this shit. That's what William Castle did during the Tingler. He had all these theaters retrofitted. He went around and sold this to theaters, and they loved it. And people came out for the novelty of it, these gimmicks that they had, these like little electrodes in the seats that would zap you at moments in the movie. And he used to do all sorts of stuff like that. I love that. And I like that, with things like this, getting inventive with the going to the movies and doing things like IMAX and 4D. And there's another one out too that I can't remember what it is. It's a little different than those, but I don't know. It's also immersive, but those kind of things, it's gimmicky, and it's kind of like, really. But hell, if it gets people in the seats and it gets people to go and enjoy going to see a movie again and makes it kind of an event, fucking A, man, do it. Do it. Go out there and get those butts in the seats and then zap them.
Yeah.
I love it.
literally
zap it. Like, I love that people are getting inventive about going to see movies again. I think that's really cool. So, whether or not you're for it or you want to pay for it, it's neat that they're trying things, that they're, and I think that started in England, the 4D thing, but, or 4K. No, not 4K, 4D. Yeah.
Oh, and one other thing I forgot about that Cinerama movie. It was called the one I did was called In the Picture, and at the end there was 4 actors in it, and it was like a family driving around L.A. and everything, and they were sitting in the front row in the same costumes that they were in the movie. And at the end, they say, "Now you're in the picture," and they stand up and say, "Hey, we were here in the picture." So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It's little corny, but it's like, wow, there's the actors right there.
Yeah.
Watching the movie with you. So it's kind of fun.
That is fun. Do you remember those old commercials that we used to go and see before the movies, the really cheesy ones where it's like the guy's talking and people are like, be quiet, and then eventually the guy says, "You hold the popcorn, I'll hold the talking."
I hold the talking, yeah. Oh, God.
Do you remember those?
But see, it sticks in your head, though.
That was 30 years ago, maybe. I don't even know how long ago I saw that, but man, I remember those vividly. You hold the popcorn, I'll hold the talking.
I'll hold the talking,
yeah. So good. Going to the movies, man. Bryan, we need to go see a movie. Next time we see each other in person, we should go see a movie.
Anything. Yeah, absolutely. Anything. There's a bunch of, if you're here in LA, we got to go to El Capitan.
Yeah, I've never been there. Take me there. Yeah. And if you come visit me in Chicago, I'll take you to the Music Box.
There we go. Perfect. We got a plan. Yeah.
And you guys out there listening, if you like what you hear or you don't like what you hear or you have something to say about movies, hit us up. Let us know. Hit us up on socials. We want you to be a part of the conversation. We'd love to hear about interesting stories. If you've worked at a movie theater, oh my God, I know you've got some great stories of things you found in the theater. One time we found a prosthetic leg up to the hip, still sitting in a chair. I don't know how that was left there. I don't know how it got in there. I don't know how the person got out without it, if they had to wear it in there. But,
see a guy hopping out later? No.
Yeah. No, I had to carry an old man out who had a heart attack in the theater one time.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah. And because we didn't have a wheelchair because they thought it was a liability. I'm like, not having a wheelchair and having to put this guy in an office wheeling chair is a liability. But anyway, you guys hit us up on social media. Let us know. We want to hear your stories, and maybe we'll comment on it in a future episode. But that's it for me and Bryan today. Thank you so much for listening, and help us keep the show going by spreading the word, letting people know about the show, and yep, thanks. We're so glad that you're listening to us, and Bryan, as always, buddy, it is great to talk to you, and I look forward to the next one.